Welcome to ePadasala lecture series in computer science. In this module, we are going to talk about the computational complexity theory that are related to the complexity of the problems. The learning objectives of this particular module is to understand the concept of computational complexity, to understand the various bounds of algorithms such as lower bound and upper bound, and we are also going to discuss about the various proof techniques that are related to finding the lower bound of the algorithms. First, we will start with complexity theory. Probably you can recollect from the earlier module that complexity refers to the difficulty of solving a problem. Informally, we can say that if you are writing a program for sorting 10 numbers, the complexity is going to be very low. On the other hand, if we are trying to sort 1 billion numbers, the complexity is going to be very high. Informally, complexity refers to the difficulty of solving a problem. The complexity theory can be broadly classified into two types. One is called algorithmic complexity and another is computational complexity. Algorithmic complexity refers to the domain of study where we are going to concentrate on how to analyze the given algorithm. And in computational complexity, we are going to discuss about the complexity of the given problem itself. From the earlier module, probably you can recollect the fundamentals of the algorithmic complexity theory. As I said earlier, complexity refers to the difficulty that is associated with the given problem. Normally, algorithmic complexity is evaluated with respect to the size of the problem. Probably you can recollect that the size of the algorithm is nothing but the length of the input that is given for the algorithm, and we are trying to express the computational or the algorithmic complexity in terms of the size of the problem. Asymptotic analysis is one such study where we are trying to express the complexity of an algorithm in terms of the input size, where the input size characterize the algorithm. For example, if you are trying to search for an element in an array, the length of the array is going to be the input size. If you are trying to multiply two matrices, the order of the matrix is going to be the input size of the algorithm. So, the complexity T of n can be expressed in terms of the input size. Formally, the size of the number n is the number of binary bits that is required to write n. For example, if we are taking the number 5 means we will take the binary representation of 5 and the number of bit is going to be referred as the input size. Probably you can recollect from the earlier module that the complexity of an algorithm is referred to the behavior of the algorithm when the input size is scaled. In other words, when n is changed or scaled up, how the program reacts characterizes the behavior of the given algorithm. Computational complexity theory, on the other hand, aims to determine the complexity of the problem itself. In other words, it tries to find the lower bound on the efficiency of all algorithms for a given problem. Computational complexity is done independent of the implementation of the given algorithm. So, you can understand the focus of computational complexity, where we can say that computational complexity talks about the complexity of the problem itself. In computational complexity, we are interested in finding the bounds of the algorithm. Bounds are of two types. One is called the lower bound and another is called the upper bound. These represents the bounds of the given algorithm. The actual cost of this algorithm ranges between the lower bound and upper bound. So, by finding the lower and upper bound, we can know the limits of the given problem. What is an upper bound? Upper bound is about solving a given problem using at most n operations, even in worst case. In other words, the upper bound is going to be expressed as a function of n, where n is going to be the input size of the given problem. In other words, upper bound represents the pessimistic view, where we are trying to find the maximum number of operations that are required to find the solutions. The upper bound indicate the highest growth rate of the algorithm. In other words, we are trying to give a bound such that the algorithm operations will not cross this upper bound. So, upper bound can be measured with respect to the best, worst as well as the average case, and we can say that the growth rate of f of n is in f of n. So, that means this algorithm as an upper bound to its growth rate f of n in average case. In other words, we can say that the algorithm is in f of n. This is what the upper bound is supposed to do. Fine. How to find the upper bound? Let us assume that A is the algorithm that needs to be analyzed. Find all possible input to algorithm A. Let us assume that f of A be the resource cost. The resource can be time or space. If that is the case, then we can consider all inputs I, and we can say that the worst cost of the algorithm is the maximum number of operations that is necessary to implement this particular algorithm, and the best case is nothing but the minimum number of operations that is necessary to implement this particular algorithm. So, the upper bound represents the worst case. Therefore, we will try to find the maximum number of operations that is necessary to implement this particular algorithms. Once we have this maximum number of operations, then we will try to represent that using this particular formal definitions. Suppose if T of n is going to be the complexity function, then we can say that T of n is in set order of f of n if there exist two positive constants c and n naught such that T of n is going to be lesser than or equal to c into f of n for all n is greater than n naught. In other words, big O representation is used to express the upper bound of an given problem. What is a example of a upper bound? So, we will take the towers of Hanoi. So, in earlier module we already discussed about the towers of Hanoi problem, where you can see that there are 3 pegs and you have source disk in one peg. We have to transfer all the pegs from the source to the destination using the intermediate peg. So, you can see that follows 2 power n minus 1. Therefore, we can say that the upper bound of towers of Hanoi is going to be 2 power n minus 1. This is the upper bound of this particular problem. What is the proof? The proof can be shown using mathematical inductions. For example, if there is no disk, you can say that it is 2 power 0 minus 1, therefore, it becomes 0. That means, no movement is necessary. If number of disk n is equal to 1, it becomes 2 power 1 minus 1. So, it is going to be 1. If n is equal to 2, it becomes 3. If n is equal to 3, it becomes 7. So, we can keep on doing like that, and in mathematical induction we can show that it works for n. By the same logic, we can say that it works for n plus 1 also. If we could able to show that, fine, we can say that the proposed upper bound is correct. In other words, what we are trying to aim is that we want to find a function which can serve as the upper bound for the given complexity function. In the same manner, we can also find the lower bound. While upper bound is for algorithms, lower bound is for the given problem. Lower bound represents the smallest number of operations that is necessary to implement algorithm for the given algorithms. In other words, informally we can say that lower bound represents at least this much work needs to be done in order to carry out operation for these given algorithms. At most informally refers to upper bound, at least refers to the lower bound of the given problem. Lower bound can be done for both worst case as well as average case. In other words, the lower bound can be of two types. One is called the worst case lower bound and another is called the average case lower bound. What does lower bound indicate? Lower bound indicates how hard the algorithm is. In other words, how much maximum resource this problem would take to get solved. And as I said earlier, lower bound is for problems and not for algorithms. So, in order to find that, we require these things. We require a model. Let capital M is going to be the model. A of M is going to be the set of algorithms that are necessary, that are available for solving a given problem P means. Then we can say that lower bound is going to be the minimum number of operations that are necessary to carry out the operation for the given problem for all these algorithms. So, you can say that it is the min of maximum of the resource cost that is available. Using this particular logic, we can find the lower bound of the given problem. What are the examples of lower bound? For example, if you take a problem like finding the largest element finding of an array, we can say that the minimum number of comparisons required to find the largest element can be a lower bound. If you are taking a sorting problem, you can say that the minimum number of comparisons that is required to sort is the lower bound. If you are taking the matrix multiplications, we can say that the minimum number of multiplications necessary to carry out matrix multiplication is going to be the lower bound. Formal definition of the lower bound can be given like this, and it is given by the asymptotic symbol omega. In other words, if t of n is going to be the non-negatively valued function, then we can say that t of n is in omega of f of n if there exist two positive constants c and n naught such that t of n is greater than or equal to c multiplied by f of n for all n greater than n naught. In other words, in asymptotic notation, omega is used to represent the lower bound. What is the use of finding the lower bound and upper bound? The usage is like this: the actual cost is existing between the upper and lower bound. If lower bound is equal to upper bound, then we can say that the algorithm is going to be optimal, where there is a perfect match between the lower and upper bound. This is the ideal scenario where we can expect to get the best or the fastest algorithm for a given problem. Suppose if lower bound is far lesser than the upper bound, then the search for a better algorithm continues, so that the lower bound is as closer to upper bound as possible. This is the practical advantage of finding lower and upper bound. Fine. Let us take some problems and let us discuss how to find the lower and upper bound. To carry out these kind of things, we require models. We will consider two concrete models for sorting problems. One is called exchange model and another is called comparison model. As the name implies, exchange model deals with exchange operations only. In exchange model, we have an input of n items, only one operation is allowed, that is exchange, that is two numbers are considered. If the numbers are in the correct order, the elements are not disturbed, otherwise we are exchanging the elements. So, this kind of exchange is having a cost of 1. So, this is one step operation. All other operations like comparison, examining an item is considered as the cost free operations. So, in other words, in exchange model, what we are trying to do is we are trying to find the number of exchanges necessary, and based on that we try to find the minimum number of swaps that are necessary, and based on that we try to find the lower and upper bound. So, if we have a sorting problem, then what is the lower bound and upper bound in exchange model? Upper bound, you require at least n minus 1 exchanges. For example, if you are having a selection sort, what is happening is that in the first phase the smallest number is obtained and put in a place where it is right. In the second phase, the second smallest number is obtained. So, in the second phase n minus 1, that is at least one number is in a proper position which is not affected at all. By using the same logic, we can say that in the nth iteration, the n minus 1 elements are left undisturbed, so that the full sorting can be carried out. This is going to be the formal proof of upper bound. What is the lower bound? Fine, minimum n minus 1 exchanges are required to carry out sorting. Therefore, we can say that the lower bound and upper bound is going to be n minus 1 for sorting. This is one model. Similarly, we can also find other models and we can do. Another model is called comparison model. As the name suggests, the whole logic of comparison model lies on comparisons. So, here you have an input of n items and only one operation is allowed, that is comparison. So, the comparison function returns value yes or no, and based on that the exchange is done. As the previous case, we can say that comparisons is having a cost, while all other things like exchange is cost free operations. Let us take one simple example of finding the maximum in comparison model. Suppose if n items are there, how many minimum comparisons and maximum comparisons are required? So, at most n minus 1 comparisons are required. We can easily say, first you check the first element is the largest element, then you will check with 2. Based on that you will update the largest. So, you can say that this process is continued for third element, fourth element. So, n minus 1 comparisons are required for doing the maximum operation in an array. Similarly, what is the lowest or smallest number of operations that are necessary? Again n minus 1 comparisons is required in order to find the maxima. So, in other words, in comparison model you require minimum of n minus 1 comparisons. Another example is finding the largest, second largest element of n elements. So, you can say that using the previous slide, for finding the first largest element n minus 1 comparisons are required. So, for finding the second largest you have only n minus 1 elements. So, therefore, you require n minus 2 comparisons. So, put together you can say that n minus 1 plus 2 n minus 2 is going to be 2n minus 3 comparisons. In other words, these are the comparisons that are required for finding the second largest element. We can also find one more lower bound, that is n log n minus 2. How? N minus 1 comparisons is required for finding the maximum, and for finding the second largest, you know very well that is the thing that get lost to the first number. So, that means for that you require log of n minus 1 comparisons. So, the total is n plus log n minus 2 comparisons. What is the proof? So, once you have all the lower bound and upper bound, you can prove that by means of certain proof strategies. These are some of the proof strategies that are available. One is called trivial lower bound, next is the usage of decision tree, third one is called the adversary argument, and fourth one is called the problem reductions. So, this is a proof technique. In trivial lower bound, what you are trying to do is you are trying to count the number of items that must be processed in the input and generated as output. For example, if you take a problem like finding the maximum of an array, you can say that n steps are required or n minus 2 comparisons are required to find that. This is going to be the trivial lower bound. So, this is very trivial in the sense that we can't extend this idea for a larger problem. Therefore, we are going for something like decision trees. Decision tree is a convenient model where we are trying to represent the decision tree. So, where internal nodes represents the comparisons and leaves represent the outcomes. For example, if I have some 3 elements, then I can have a decision tree like this, where you can see that the numbers are compared. Based on that, we can generate this decision tree. Once we have a decision tree, we can easily find the lower bound. So, for n numbers, you require n factorial distinct permutations. In other words, the number of leaves in the decision tree is going to be n factorial. So, the depth of the binary tree is going to represent the lower bound. So, you can say that the lower bound of the sorting you can say it is n factorial. So, based on that you can say that this is what the lower bound of the sorting algorithm is going to be. In summary, we can say that the upper bound indicates the maximum number of operations and lower bound indicates the smallest number of operations, and establishing upper and lower bound is must for computational complexity, and lots of proofing techniques are there, and decision tree is one of the most popular method for getting the proof of lower and upper bound. So, in this module we talked about the upper and lower bound. So, next module we will continue our discussion for discussing about the complexity theory of the problems. Thank you very much.